I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Eric Adams has been indicted by the federal grand jury. And Eric Adams has now turned to the churches here in New York City to help him remain in power. There he is. You know, Eric, and this is a Reformed church. I've been in New York City in the church business for 40 years. I ain't never heard of this church before. The so-called, what's the name of that church he's at? Is the Emmanuel Presbyterian Reformed Church. No, I think I've heard of this church. Yeah, I think I knew the pastor at one time. But now Eric has now turned to the churches, right? Because it is alleged that Governor Hochul is going to cause Eric, ask him to resign. Al Sharpton weighed in too. I'll try to get to that. And Al Sharpton wasn't with Eric the other day when he stood before the crowd stating he wouldn't, facing his indictment. But Al has now chimed in. But now Eric has turned to the churches. He's going back to church. He's putting the look, trying to go to, it's come to Jesus moment, praying that the church. But Eric, I can tell you, you better hope the Lord tells me not to run, because you ain't gonna be no match. Well, I don't know about that, because I don't necessarily have the greatest relationship with churches, because I don't think they're, the efficacy of them or the ethics or even their calling a place is a valid one these days. But Eric is in big trouble, everybody. Eric Adams is in big trouble. I don't know what church this is, where he's in, but he's in big trouble. And they're going to want Eric. They're going to ask Eric to resign shortly. Because he's not. It would be one thing if the rest of Eric Adams, his commissioners, his cabinet members, I guess we could call, if they were in a stable position. But all his cabinet members are. Listen, this is the third police commissioner that was just appointed the other day. When that police commissioner was appointed, the next day the FBI raided his house, and on the very day that the indictment was unsealed in federal court, the FBI was raiding Gracie Mansion. So Eric is in a lot of trouble. And I can tell you where this trouble is coming from. This trouble is coming from this Bishop Lamar Whitehead, and Eric and his problems sexually with Bishop Lamar Whitehead, and also with Puff Daddy. And so it's going to be very difficult. The indictments they have against him, unless somebody steps in, unless President Biden or somebody steps in and says drop the indictments. Eric is in big trouble, and he's on his way to jail. It's not just he's going to lose his office as mayor. The boy's on his way to jail. It's a matter now of how long that's going to take place. But I thought I'd let you know. And, the other thing is that I'll be speaking about on Saturday, I suppose, is that I have been preaching against these so-called black politicians, social ethics people, social scientists, all these black people, and the fact that their leadership has brought black people to a worse position than it's ever been. And now that Puff Daddy has been exposed, and it's all happening right here in New York, not in Los Angeles. So if you're wondering, and I'm not saying the Lord said yes. I didn't say that. Did I know for me to run? But what I would say, in the event you are considering whether or not, well, Pastor Bailey, maybe it's associated. Maybe what's happening with Eric Adams and what's happening with Puff Daddy is happening here in New York and not in Los Angeles or in, or Atlanta or in Chicago. It's happening right here where you say Jesus is returning to, where all of this major, if you will, corruption and arrest. These two boys, both of these boys right here, both of these boys used to be the Negroes. Cats me out. Both of these boys used to be top Negroes. Now they both under heavy indictment, one with a red jacket on. They won't even let him out of jail. He's on a suicide watch at the Metropolitan Correction Facility, federal facility here in New York. And Eric is only out because he's the mayor. They don't think he's got enough money to skip town. They think he's going to try to run and use his power as mayor to circumvent the court indictment. But when you look at this, both of these boys have been indicted since I have been raising my voice against the hypocrisy of the both of them. Not just the hypocrisy, what's the word I'm looking for? They are a destructive, demonic force. These two right here, and there's more of them out there. There's more of them out there. And I've been raising my voice. Now, the matter is, right here in New York City, the question is, well, Pastor Manning, is it your power and your prophecy and your God that is revealing these people and these powerful indictments? Listen, there's going to be a whole lot of folk that's going down with Eric Adams, mayor. It's just him. I mean, there's police department shaking out. And this thing of Eric Adams getting free rides in these, business class and living in the St. Regis Hotel, the opulent room, this has been going on for years. This boy been doing this for years. I read an article today where they're trying to stop him from having access to campaign finance money. Let's say if you're running for office here in New York and you got $100,000 that you've raised, well, the city of New York will give you matching campaign finance of $100,000. You can get $1 million from the city of New York if you got $1 million. They're trying to. I read an article today that was prepped to stop Eric from getting that money. That cut him off because he can use that money to say he's running for mayor of the city of New York. And just start spending more money. So as you can see, a number of people are calling him. Listen, Eric is on his way. Eric is on his way to jail, and so is Puff Daddy. So if Eric is on his way to jail, am I on my way to the mayor's office? I didn't say that I was, and I'm not saying that's what God said to me earlier today in the oblation hour. But I can tell you, I may not be on my way to the mayor's office, but Eric Adams, Puff Daddy, and a whole lot of people, including T.D. Jakes, are on their way to jail. That's right. Unless Obama steps in. Because they got Obama. Listen, Puff Daddy got Obama on tape the way he got everybody else. So unless somehow that Obama steps in, that they're on their way to jail. They thought they could have sex. Nobody was watching in the privacy of Puff Daddy's mansion, doing all kind of, they just let their hair down, having sex with all kinds of people. Obama could be on his way to humiliation. Now, this thing depends on what, and listen, I didn't say the Lord said I should run. Did I say that? You haven't heard me say that. But I'm here. I say this to you. What I will say to you, then I'm going to, in a moment or so, I'll bring up my other statement. What I will say to you, it has been you listen to me. You Pastor Man, we don't like you. Well, haters usually don't like truth either. No, haters don't like truth. And weak people don't like strong people. That's right. But let me say this to you. I can say to you now this. None of this will be happening. Puff Daddy would not be arrested. Eric Adams would not be arrested and indicted had I not been preaching the promised land of ATLAH. Now, you can do what you want. You can run, tell Reverend Rabbitfoot, Reverend Catfish, you can run, do whatever you want to do. But it's true. Puff Daddy's in jail on suicide watch, in segregation in the isolation cell, and Eric Adams is not too far behind him. But who's been raising their voice? Who's been speaking a word of truth? Was it T.D. Jakes identifying Puff Daddy? Was it T.D. Jakes? Was it Creflo Dollar? Who's been identifying? Was it that boy down there at Lakewood Church, that Joel Osteen? Who's been identifying these freaks? Who been identifying? Was it Tyler Perry? No, it was Pastor Manning. Been identifying these freaks. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. That's right. So you don't have to You don't have to agree with anything I say or do. All I know is that Jesus is Lord.